have this vivid memory of sitting in the bathtub one time and just crying.
I think I punched my dad once.
You're not in charge of me right now. Like, you just won't leave me alone.
I had an epidural in my back, so I couldn't move very well.
She just wanted me to keep pushing and keep going.
Everybody had one. Like, if you didn't have one, you were looked down upon.
This is a show where teenagers share their experiences growing up in today's world. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective. Hello and welcome to A Teen's Perspective, helping parents see the future. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and I have an amazing guest for you today. We're going to talk to Riley Hammock, and Riley is an 18-year-old high schooler who overcame one of the scariest situations that any teenager will face, and she's going to talk to you about that a little bit. So, Riley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so we want to start off, before we get into this huge, scary moment, let's talk about just your family environment. How was it being raised in the Hammock household?
The Hammock household was a lot of fun, I have to say. I grew up with 4 other siblings. The oldest was 13 when I was born. Big age gap. And my parents were by that time, I was the 5th kid. They were very laid back with me, but they were also very trusting with me. I think that led to a really good relationship with both my parents.
Wow, 5 kids total. So did they say that you were like the special one? I mean, 13, that's a big gap.
Oh, I was a definite accident. My mom actually was not supposed to have any more children and somehow still managed to have me. And when she found out, she threw her pregnancy test across the room.
Wow, yes. What are the age of your parents?
My parents are 53. I think both 53. Sorry if I got that wrong, Mom and Dad.
So share with me, like, just the experience, not having anyone to really kind of hang out with as a toddler, huh? And then going through school and everyone is pretty much out of the house.
My oldest 2 siblings, they're 1 year apart. They're both 32 and 31 right now. My sister is 22 and my brother is 20. So as weird as it is, when we were younger, we fought all the time. But now all me and my siblings all live still here in Austin, and we're all really, really close.
That's cool. That's something I always wanted for my family because I'm one of 4. But we're scattered. My oldest sister is in Kentucky. I have one in Dallas, and my brother is in Orange. But I think you're living the dream as far as having your entire family in the city that you're living in.
I got really lucky with that, and especially because I get to watch my older siblings have kids, and I get to be that cool young aunt. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so how many nieces and nephews?
My brother has a daughter, so I have 1 niece, and then my sister has a son. So
okay.
1 nephew. Yeah.
That's awesome. Walk us through just the parenting styles.
My siblings, I think my oldest 2 siblings were raised a little bit tighter than me, probably, because I am like that last one. But they were really they told me what they expected from me, their expectations from like discipline, like respect to them, respect my parents and all that stuff. It was a lot of trust. My parents just felt that I should be able to talk to them about anything. And I tell my parents basically everything that I do, everything. They know everything about me, my drama, my friend drama, all that stuff. They know everything. And I think that really helped us have like a really good relationship with each other. And I don't know, a lot of it was just trust for me. And I was always afraid of breaking my parents' trust. I think that's what kept me in line.
Wow. So it sounds like your parents set the tone, right? Like with the whole trust.
They really did.
Did they do that with all your siblings?
Yes, probably not as well as they did me because they've gone through some kids, so they know exactly what they need to do, I think, by the end. But yeah, we know everything about each other. There's not really not a lot of secrets within my family.
Wow, that is awesome. Can you share with us probably the scariest thing you had to tell your parents that you did?
Scariest thing I told my parents I did? Okay, this is it. So the scariest thing I probably ever had to tell my parents was that I got back together with a boyfriend.
Oh, wow, really? Because they must not have liked this guy.
No, not very much.
Okay, so we're going to hold that because I know we definitely want to talk about that a little later. So walk us through middle school, because I know that I'm a life coach for teenagers, and middle school seems to be the hardest transition for any student.
Oh, absolutely.
So talk to me about just the challenges of middle school.
Okay, so in middle school, I'm going to be completely honest, I was a pretty prominent person in my middle school.
Nice.
Which seems huge at the time, when in reality, no one really cares.
So how did you make it to the top?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Really?
I think it's one of those things where it's like whoever's just kind of doesn't go into middle school very shy or very quiet, like they're not afraid. And I wasn't really that afraid of middle school, and I had a lot of really close friends and a lot of good friends. So it was pretty easy for me to jump on in there and meet a bunch of people. And once you do that, it was pretty easy. Like I went to a very small middle school. And so everyone's just kind of like this big group of friends. And I mean, there was definitely drama. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, being the top girl, I'm sure there was a lot of jealousy and...
Oh, absolutely. But same for me too. Definitely I was jealous of a lot of girls in my middle school, and we get into fights over really stupid stuff that seems so big in the moment. And like a month later, you're like, why was that such a big deal? Why was I so upset about that? Why did I make this person so upset about this? And it's really so small.
So can you recall one of those scenarios?
Absolutely. So I am not going to use any names. I'm still friends with all these people currently, so it's fine. Me and my best friend, we did have a crush on the same boy. That's what happens when you go to a small middle school.
So that happens, huh?
Yes, absolutely. And we really liked this boy, and we would talk to each other about how we both liked this boy. And I somehow, I landed the man. And I started dating him, like loosely dating. We were not friends for a very long time. Our mothers even had to get involved.
Like if you guys were talking about like the same guy, right? Is there not like this understanding that one of you may land the guy?
We just ignored that fact. We just acted like it didn't exist. But in the back of our minds, we were like, yeah, one of us is gonna get the guy at some point. We just ignored it. And then once it happened, there was a lot of silence between the both of us.
So share with me exactly the moment whenever you landed the guy, and like, how did your friend find out?
Okay, so I was at my locker, and he comes up to me and he asks me out, and his little friend posse's waiting behind him, waiting for him to run back and deliver what I said. And so I said yes, and man, was I happy,
Did you like hold it in, or are you like?
I was very like nonchalant. Like I was very I played it cool. And she found out from another friend, and she actually ended up crying at the end of the school day.
Wow.
And I remember getting on the school bus and being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Oh man, so it had to be hard because she had to find out from someone else, huh?
Yeah, my favorite quote at that moment was, "All is fair in love and war."
Right. Well, the good news is you guys are still friends.
Oh yeah, we're still really good friends. All three of us are actually really good friends now, and we think it's so funny to look back on it now. We'll make jokes about it still.
And this guy, like, how long did it last?
We actually dated for 11 months.
Okay, so that's pretty long for middle school, right? It was
very long for middle school. Not really much happened. Like when I talk about who I've dated now, I don't really consider it like a actual relationship in my life. But yeah, he was a great guy, a lot of fun. So it was a long middle school relationship.
When I was your age, middle school, I honestly did not really think much about dating. But it seems like in this day and age, it's more and more dating is like younger. Like I see sometimes fifth graders dating, and with the whole social media, a lot of people are kind of dating. I guess you call it dating, but they don't really see each other. Describe a dynamic of having a relationship in middle school.
During my time in middle school, it's probably changed a little bit, but it was just you held hands underneath your desk if you had a class with them. That was the best. We sat together at lunch, went to middle school dances together, some slow dancing, not too close.
Okay, because there's chaperones there.
The chaperones come around with a ruler at my school, and they would make sure.
Nice, I like it.
It was a lot of that, and sit together at lunch. PE, I have to like make sure that like I'm working really hard. I can't look like I'm bad at the sports. Like I gotta look athletic.
You guys have phones at this age, right?
Yeah.
So was there like a rule in your house where you had to be off the phone by this time?
We just texted a little bit, and of course, my Instagram bio have to have that like heart emoji and like the like date of when we began dating, and like gotta make sure everyone knows.
Yeah,
you know, especially that one girl. Gotta make sure she knows. We were pretty good about it, I guess. I got tired. I went to bed. I didn't stay up very late. But I would say texting was a big part.
Now, did your parents allow you guys to like go on a date?
Our parents were actually friends.
Like before or after you guys started dating?
Before. We actually grew up being neighbors with each other.
What? So you had like the edge from day one?
Oh, I had a little bit of upper hand. Not a lot, because like all of our moms were friends.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Our parents did allow it. We did go on some dates.
So give me an example of one of the dates.
I remember on a Valentine's Day, we went to this dance hall That was very interesting. I'd never been anywhere like that.
A dance
before.
hall?
Yeah.
What is that?
A country dance hall. Did we dance? No, we did not. We were very uncomfortable, awkward middle schoolers, and we just kind of stood there.
And now, were your parents there with you?
No, his mom was there with us, and his sister were there, and with another mom, like another parent, and they were having fun. But we were kind of like, we were on our own, but we were very uncomfortable, very awkward.
Wow. So did you guys kiss?
No, we actually never kissed.
Wow, 11 months. That's awesome. Yeah.
I know. We both got I think both super nervous about that kind of stuff because that was very new, very new. We were just like, yeah.
That's still good to hear there's still innocence in middle school.
There definitely was. There definitely was.
Now, fast forward to high school. So share with me how dating has changed then.
Okay, so a lot of dating in high school begins with becoming a thing with someone. That's the word, thing.
Oh, it's a thing.
So it means you're not officially dating them, but you kind of hang out with them. People kind of know that like you're with them, but it's not official.
So could you like have a thing with more than one person and it'd be okay? Or is it?
No.
Okay, so it's kind of like dating, but you just don't want the title.
It's just not the title. It's pretty stupid, but you know, a lot of people do it. I'm a victim of that. I can't put any blame on anybody else because I've done it. So yeah. But I've had one actual high school relationship.
Oh, like the entire high school?
No, I had for a year and a half. I dated a boy for a year and a half.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I learned a lot. I'm not dating him currently, but we're still friends. He's in college now. I learned a lot from it. I learned I make a lot of mistakes. He makes a lot of mistakes. In the high school, you're not dating for so much of like the marriage long run kind of thing. So that's what's good, I think, about middle school, high school dating is you get the experience and you like learn what to do and what not to do, how you should be treated and stuff like that.
Yeah. And how did you guys become a thing? Like describe that.
He actually did not go to my school. I met him through a church camp that I went to. And he was one of my leaders for my group, and he's a year older than me. And we kind of started dating after that because we got really close throughout the summer.
Now, you mentioned that you learned a lot. Like, so share with us some of the life lessons.
I learned to be more relaxed on things. Girls, you know, one thing about them is they need a lot of reassurance. When in relationship, especially with a high school boy who's very much like, I want to hang out with my friends. I'm not going to be with you all the time. And I think it's important to learn that, like, to not be so intense and high strung about everything and just kind of be more relaxed. Also, for girls to be able to tell when a guy really does actually care about you. And I guess that does go both ways because there is some girls, there's a lot of using in high school, that kind of stuff.
So what do you mean when you say using?
That can be a lot of different things. It can be using you just for a void of time. If a guy likes somebody else or a girl likes somebody else, but you're just filling that void for them in the meantime. Or a lot of using of a guy or girl can use you for your body, use you for your time and attention, stuff like that.
So that like they don't like you at all, but they just need
someone to fill their time. Kind of call it like you got played or something, like
oh, wow.
You've been used. And it happens a lot. I see it happen a lot. It's really sad, but it definitely does go both ways.
The person that's using the other person, do you know you're using them going into it? Or is it kind of like, I kind of like you, we dated a little bit, but I'm over it?
I think sometimes they get into the relationship and they kind of realize. I don't think that's the true intent from the beginning, but for some people, I do think they do know that they are using.
Oh, wow. Like when you first met this guy, you guys clicked, and did love ever come up in the conversations?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so when did you first recognize that you felt something?
I think it's one of those things where it's like at the beginning of a relationship, you like really like this person, kind of call it like that honeymoon phase kind of thing. At the time, you really do think you love this person. I think I thought I did. I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting this person that I was with because they were actually a good person to me. I do appreciate like the time I had with them and stuff and everything. So I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting them at all. But I think at the time I really thought it was love. And I think they would say the same thing too. It wasn't actually that.
Yeah. And so share with us the breakup. Like how did it go down?
So we actually broke up twice. He broke up with me because his grades were slipping. That's what he told me. I don't quite know if that was true.
So how does a conversation like that happen? Like, hey man, we're having so much fun, but my grades are dropping. So
actually it was very much a blindside. We only hung out on weekends because I didn't go to school with him, and he had me meet him somewhere, which I didn't think was weird because we've done that before. We met at a Starbucks, and it was in a Starbucks parking lot, and he just told me I have to break up with you. He said that it was more his parents forcing him to do so, and I was just like, okay, like that's just how it is. Like, I don't know. I guess at the time I wasn't super upset. I was a little upset, obviously, but I was just like, okay. I think I cried a little bit to my mom when I got home, but after that I was kind of just like, okay. And then about a month later, we ended up getting back together, and then a couple months came. It was November, and I kind of could feel myself slipping away, and I was just like, I don't know if I really want this anymore. I was losing my friends at my own school because he went to a different school, and I was spending so much time with him, and I would ask him about college. I was like, what are we going to do when you go to college? You're a year older than me. And he would just say, I can't promise you anything. And when he told me that, I was like, we're probably going to break up. Like, I'm not dumb. I know we probably are. I'm just going to do it now. So I ended up breaking up with him. And I think it was the best thing for both of us. I think he's happy it happened. I'm happy it happened. And that's how it ended.
Wow. It seemed like a very mature situation for you to look at it and say, hey, it's probably not going to last, so let's just end it now.
Yeah, I'm not very much of a dreamer. I'm a realist. I know how that kind of stuff goes. I know how it works. Not to say that people can't last through college and stuff like that, because I've seen it, but I knew in this situation that it was over. It was done.
So before you made that situation, did you like seek advice from your parents or your friends?
I talked to my mom about it probably the most, and she was just like, I don't know what you guys are going to do. It was just a lot of, Riley, you kind of know. You kind of do know. And it's one of those, you do get a gut feeling, and you get that feeling of, you know what you need to do. That's how it was for me. And I talked about it with a few of my friends, and they were just like, okay, I think you know. Like, you already know in the back of your head what you need to do. And I was like, okay, I think I just need to break up with him. I knew what I wanted to do. It's one of those, you know what you want to do, and you just need someone to tell you what you want to hear, and then you'll do what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good point, because there's one thing about knowing, and there's another part that's doing. There's a lot of people that know, like, for example, like smoking cigarettes. Like, everyone knows that it's bad, but people still do it, because I think there's a fine line between knowing and doing. So for you, was it just the fact that your friends just say, hey, do it? Is that what pushed you over to actually take the action?
I actually went to my friend had a party at her house, and I went over there, and I hadn't seen my friends in a while. I lost a few friends in that relationship because my time was so much dedicated. So I guess another thing I learned in that relationship was balance, how to balance both. And I was hanging out with my friends, and my boyfriend at the time didn't really enjoy me going to parties and being with friends, which was bad. But that night I decided to go, and I think it was like a God's moment kind of thing. And I went, and I really enjoyed hanging out with my friends and had a really good night. And I realized that I do miss hanging out with my friends. I was being a little bit held back. That was the kind of night that I kind of knew. I was like, I don't want to miss out. I really that was the moment that I knew. I was like, okay, this is over. Like, I have things I need to focus. I need to fix, like, my friendships, and because I'm only in high school for so long. And by that time, I also knew, I was like, and we're probably going to break up. So now I'm wasting my years. Well, I wouldn't really say wasting. That sounds mean, but I'm occupying my time with things I shouldn't be for no reason.
Yeah. And once it was official, how were you emotionally?
Honestly, I felt like a little bit of a weight off my shoulders. I think he would also say the same. And I was just like, okay, I feel good. I can go hang out with my friends. And I spent a lot of my time just filling it with friends and like being around my friends. And I think that was the smartest thing I ever did, because now I have like a great group of friends now, and I wouldn't change any of it.
That's awesome. And have you dated since?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have not dated since. Not to say that I haven't liked some boys. I definitely have. I haven't considered very much dating. It's not a super big priority to me. If I meet somebody that I really, really feel a connection with, then I would date them. But as of now, it's one of those things. I'm just waiting to college, because if I get into a relationship I'm not really, really like into right now, probably going to be a hypocrite for breaking up my last relationship.
So, okay, one last question on the whole dating thing. So when I was in high school, it was definitely the guys pursued the girls. That was just the thing at that time. How is it now? Like, if you like somebody, do you like go after them, or do you kind of like wait to be pursued?
If I could have it my way, I would wait to be pursued. I would love for a boy to just come and read my mind and know exactly what I'm thinking and know that I want them to ask me out. But, unfortunately, that's not how that works. But usually Snapchat is a big thing. You Snapchat the people that you like. You start that Snapchat streak. if you know what that is.
No, I don't.
That's a Snapchat picture every day, and after a few days you get a streak, and it's a number, and it goes up as many times as you Snapchat.
Do all your friends see that streak? Or is it just for
No,
you?
only you and the person that you have it with can see it. And usually, like, you just keep talking to them a lot, and hopefully they kind of figure it out, and you drop hints. But it's a lot more of both ways pursuing. The girls do pursue, and the guys do pursue too. But it's not really the guy trying to land the girl really anymore. It's just a lot of both.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off the guys, I guess.
Puts a lot more pressure on us. But, you know, guys cannot read minds, definitely. They also cannot read signs very well sometimes either. But
and that doesn't change, because I often hear that for myself too. So it doesn't change.
it's not one of those things that comes with age.
It doesn't. No,
Well, that's
guys
very
are not good
unfortunate.
at reading mind or signs, I tell you. So last question about the streak thing, because this is actually very new to me. I thought I knew about Snapchat, but I didn't know about the streak thing. So you can randomly just snap people you've never talked to before, like just out the blue say, hey, what's up?
Yeah, so as long as you have their username, and most people put them on their Instagram accounts, or you can get them from somebody else. Once you get their username, you can Snapchat them, and they'll open the Snapchat, and hopefully you get a response. You can, because it does tell you if they've opened it and left it. Because it's called leave on open. They can leave you on open, and that's how you know. Like, if you're shooting your shot and you get left on open, or you get a dry response, you know. You're like, okay, avoid this.
Abort.
Yes,
Abort the
definitely.
mission. All right, perfect. The audience, I know, is wanting to hear about this scary experience that a teenager had to face. So go ahead and share that with us.
Okay, so when I was 12 years old, I was like any other 12-year-old. I went to school, had a ton of friends, everything. I was in 6th grade. And one day I had very, very severe back pain. And I got sent to the nurse's office. And I ended up going to the hospital and getting my appendix out, which is not very uncommon. A lot of people do get their appendix out. And I thought everything was fine. I went on a ski trip with my family, and I came back and I had a follow-up appointment. When I went in, they told me that they had found cancer on my appendix, a tumor, and it was a neuroendocrine tumor. And that was a super scary appointment for me, because none of us were expecting that. And me and my mom were just like very taken back at that moment.
So you're going in, and this is just a follow-up.
Yes, I thought it was just a normal follow-up.
Because you already had the appendix removed?
Yes.
Okay, so it was removed, and then skiing, having fun, come back. You guys were thinking, oh, this is just routine, right? And then he lands you guys with the news.
Yes.
And how did he say it?
He said a bunch of words I did not understand. And my mom used to be a nurse. She got all of it. She was just like, oh my God. Like, she was speechless. She didn't know what to say. The presentation of hearing that was very poor. That doctor, young guy, it's great that you're a doctor, but you're not doing a very good job. It was kind of a harsh way to tell. It was very not private, really at all. I remember I got in the car and my mom's like freaking out. She's absolutely freaking out. And they were like, well, there's a 20-something chance it comes back again. That means a pretty big chance that it's not. And I remember I went to school for 10 minutes and I like couldn't stand to be there anymore. And my mom had to come back and pick me up because I just couldn't be at school. And I went home, cried so hard I fell asleep. And then my dad had come home and my mom had been on the phone finding like doctors for like hours. And so I ended up going to MD Anderson in Houston, and they did a kind of like a preventive surgery. They removed a third of my colon, part of my small intestine, and 63 of my lymph nodes about a month later.
So you guys found this doctor, and did you guys have to go up for a follow-up appointment first before they made that decision, or did they just look at the information from the past doctor?
I went up for one appointment. They kind of just examined me. They did the scans, and they like injected all the disgusting stuff in you and all that stuff. And I laid there and went inside the little machine and whatever. And they were just like, well, I don't know. We don't really see much. We see a little bit of something. They decided to go through with the surgery because it will really like increase my chances of it never returning. And as a young kid, I was very scared, but I had a lot of support in my community and stuff like that. So that kind of helped. My parents were really awesome, really supportive, very like waiting on me hand and foot kind of thing. And my family was great. So that really helped, but it was scary.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. And did they give you guys the option to decline the surgery? I mean, I'm sure they gave you an option, but like, were they like kind of swaying you to like, hey, you probably should do this? They did kind of give us an option, but for my parents, it was not an option. They were just like, we are doing this.
And they definitely recommended, they were like, you need to do this because the one that I have could definitely spread. And when they did the surgery, everything they took out, they thought was completely infected.
Oh, wow.
That's what my surgeon had come and told my parents. And so they sent it off to a lab because it just all looked it just looked really weird, especially my lymph nodes. And they cut through every single one, scanned every single one, and they were all clear.
Oh, I see.
So that was really interesting. And every year since then, I've gotten a scan every single year. I drive to Houston and I get that scan. But I remember like in middle school, I felt very lonely, even though I had all these people around.
So yeah, talk to us about that. Like, what does that look like?
It's just like no one really understands how you feel or what you're going through. I did face some people in my school who thought I was lying, which was very interesting. I was out of school for the last month and a half of school. I was not there. And I got it was funny, I got a lot of awards. I wasn't even there. I got a theater spirit award. I was not even there. And it was kind of awkward because the play that they had going on was about a girl who had cancer who ended up passing away. That was the play for that year at school. So they were practicing this play.
What?
And I auditioned for the part of the play to be the girl before all this happened. And then as it happened, we were going through callbacks and I did not get it.
That's a great sign.
I did not get the part.
I'm glad you did not get the part.
I mean, I was a little sad that I didn't get the part, but a girl did come up to me at one point and asked me, she said that I was lying and that I did not have cancer because I still had my hair. That was really weird to hear because I was like, I don't know what to say because I'm not one to go around and be like, well, it's true, you know?
Right.
So all my teachers would come up to me and have meetings with me in the morning before school and talk to me. I had like 50-50, you know, great support and then a lot of like, well, this is weird. Like, you don't actually have it. Even though I'm gone and I ended up losing 20 pounds in the hospital. I was very small because I was not allowed to eat because of stomach surgery. And it was really interesting time in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I understand sometimes with kids, a lot of it's ignorance. They just don't know. But I'm shocked that the teacher would not like show support and think that maybe you were making this up.
The teachers met with me before school. They would talk to my parents back and forth. I guess they were pretty good. I did not have to make up any schoolwork. They exempted me from the rest of the year.
Oh, so that's cool.
Yeah. And that hasn't really held me back that much in school at all, like later on. I remember when I was gone, I was dating the boy at the time, the one from earlier. And I remember laying in my hospital bed and I'm going on my phone and there's a picture of the girl and my boyfriend that I'm looking for on my phone.
Wait, I'm
on
confused.
Instagram, like she had posted it and I'm laying in the hospital bed in Houston after just getting my surgery.
So the guy you were dating took a picture with another girl?
Yeah, well, they were friends and like she had gone up to him and taken a picture like him, like
Oh, okay.
not really like a set planned photo.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at that and being like, you're kidding.
Yeah, this is
You're
not the right time.
Which we joke about that as well, but at the time it seemed like the biggest deal to me ever. Because I'm not thinking about getting better or like being stronger or what pain I'm in. I'm thinking about I need to get home, you know? I just couldn't wait to get home. I played a lot of basketball at the time and they told me it was be 4 to 6 weeks before I went back to basketball. I ended up going back in 2 weeks. I did not like being very isolated in my room. It was the worst experience. I think everything possible that could have gone wrong came wrong. I had positional headache in the hospital, which means I couldn't sit up without getting a really bad headache, which they had to put blood. I had an epidural in my back, so I couldn't move very well. And then I ended up with a kidney infection when I got home. It was just everything. The day I got home from the hospital, I ended up in the doctor's office with oxygen on my face. That's like, it was just like everything that could have gone wrong. But it was one of those situations that really did teach me a lot of things at a very young age.
So how did you maintain positivity during that time? Like you made it through, right? Like it doesn't sound like you suffered depression. So how did you just make it through?
One of the things that they say about kids or adults, anyone who goes through cancer, is a lot of depression, anxiety, stuff like that. I will say a lot of anxiety followed me afterwards. Pains in the body, feeling sick, feeling weak, stuff like that. I was on an injection in my stomach for a few years that I actually don't need anymore. So that's awesome.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. I just kind of had to get over those. I used a lot of like my religion. I'm Christian and looking to God was a big thing for me with that. And so even at a young age, like I grew up in the church and it was one of those things you're like, God's plan for me. He already knows what's going to happen to me. Don't worry about it. Because when I played basketball and I was nervous before a game, I'd just be like, God already knows how this game's going to turn out. I can't change it. It's already going to be that way. It's set in his plan. And then I wouldn't worry about it. And that's kind of what I did.
And So you grew up in church.
I did.
Well, when did you feel you actually believed? Because I know kids are sometimes not necessarily forced, but it's like, hey, you got to go to church, you got to do this. But when did you feel like, hey, this is actually real?
I was actually having one of my anxiety attacks after I had gone through everything that I went through. And I was laying in my mom's bed and my face was just so red and flushed. And my heart was beating so fast. I felt really hot. I felt like horrible. And I had actually been prescribed a medication to help me with my anxiety. And I didn't like taking it at all. I really did not like taking it because I don't want to rely on medication, stuff like that. And so my mom was just saying, like, you should just take it. You feel horrible. You're not feeling good. Just take this. I'm crying. I'm laying there. I feel horrible because I'm just so like amped up. I was just like, I really don't want to do that. And so I stopped and I prayed to God because I hated it. And I just stopped and I prayed and I asked if he would take it from me and like take the anxiety that I feel because I hate feeling it. And then I said amen. And my face, I'm not kidding, my face like completely unflushed. I felt fine. I told myself I'm okay, and I have not experienced that since.
That is amazing.
And that was the moment I was like, I will never, ever question that again.
That is awesome. And what age at that time?
I was actually a sophomore in high school.
Wow. That's awesome.
It was probably about 4 years I had really bad like anxiety, only about like being sick and getting cancer again, and that was so scary to me. And after that, like, I'm living. I feel good.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
I've never questioned my faith since then, ever. So it's good to know that like I felt him there. Like I felt God there.
That is, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now you're a senior. And so right now, every year you're getting your scans. Everything looks great. Yes. You feel great. Are you active? Are you playing sports? Are you doing anything?
I played basketball all the way up to varsity to my junior year. And then when college came, I was like, I'm just going to take a break. But I do Orange Theory.
Nice.
Theory. But they said one of the best things for me, because I had a neuroendocrine, which is like your hormones and stuff like that. Best thing for me is to stay active and work out. So yes, I do maintain a lot of energy and working out at Orange Theory. But yeah, so it hasn't slowed me down. It hasn't slowed me down.
You've already been through the stressful period of applying to all the colleges.
Yes.
So talk to us about that. Like, where are you now?
So my parents, I would come home from school every day and my parents would be sitting at the table and they would have my computer there and they were like, go on to Apply Texas and do your applications. And they actually had a college advisor. I was fortunate enough to have someone come to my house and talk to me about getting in school.
Wait, so yeah, tell me about that. I didn't know that exists. So what is that about?
So my best friend's Kinsey, her family, her brother had used one and they recommended her to me, and she came over to my house and she read my college resume. She told me where to go, when I needed everything turned in by. And that was a lot of help because I had a lot of questions I didn't have answered, and that admissions process changes so much that like you can't keep up with it through my siblings. It changes every single year. That was a lot of help because it made it a lot easier, because they have to fill out a lot of like self-reported grades, self-tests, getting your test scores sent into the schools. Apply Texas makes it super easy because you can use the same application and just send it.
Oh, that's cool.
That made it a lot easier, but it was stressful. It was like 2 weeks that I spent on these applications. Every day I came home from school, I had to sit there and I had to get another thing done before I could do anything else.
Wow. And this advisor, is this provided through the state, the school, or this is private?
Private. This was through just like my parents hired someone. But I do know my school does have pretty good like counselors, especially our head counselor at Westwood. She does a very good job of like helping students figure out deadlines and stuff. And I knew that all my stuff needed to be turned in mid-October. Fortunately, I was able to get mine at the very end of September was when I had everything in. But rec letters are hard to get. You feel kind of bad asking your teachers, being like, because they probably get like 1 million.
Yeah.
And you're like, can I please write me this rec letter? And once you get all this stuff in, it is such a relief because it's all in the college's hands now. Doesn't mean you still worry. I definitely still worried about most of mine. I'm only waiting on one school now and probably won't hear back for a while, but it's worry-free when you know that there's nothing you can do now.
Right. It's out of your hands. And so what is the difference between like your school advisor that can help you or your counselor versus this private person you can hire?
I think it's the dedication of time. Counselors have a lot of stuff to do. They can't just sit there and help just you on your college stuff. So they can dedicate a lot more time. The lady that came over to my house, she came over around 6:30. She left around 10:30. So she stayed there for a really long time, really late that night, really getting to know who I was and helped me with my essay. She did read my college essay and edited it for me.
Oh,
and
cool.
Made sure that like my grammar and everything, that was really what they did. And she doesn't change my writing, and that's what I liked. She loved all of my ideas, and she was like, this has to be all you. Like, I'll make sure your commas and periods are in the right place, but it's all you. And that helped me write a good essay, and she made the process really easy. But I think that schools can't really dedicate as much time.
So what is the official name of these people?
I would just say a college advisor.
It's a college advisor, and then you just hire them. And do you know much about the pay structure? If it's hourly or?
I think ours was hourly, and I think it was about $30 or $40 an hour.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
It was not
It's
bad.
going to help you get to where you feel more confident. And
Exactly.
That's
So my
awesome.
parents definitely deemed it worth it, and so did I, and it made it a lot less stressful.
Okay, perfect. So share the news. What colleges are you applying to?
So I have applied. I got into Tech.
Yay.
I got into Alabama. I got
Awesome.
into Texas State and Baylor.
That's awesome. Well, you're wearing a Baylor sweatshirt. So
I
is
am.
that like a hint of where you decided to go?
The only college I'm still waiting on is Texas A&M. They take a long time to hear back. And for me, it's between Baylor and A&M at this point. And I went and visited both. I loved both. But I think there was a little bit of a stronger connection with Baylor. But my parents, they're very like, you need to wait, which they're smart. They're smart.
Right.
And you need to wait and hear back from every single school before you decide, because I have a lot of time. It's looking between both of those two. It's what school I can get in for my major, really.
Oh, I see. So, and what is your major?
My major is business, finance, and accounting.
Okay. And what do you hope to do with that?
Be an accountant.
Okay,
Or
nice.
like maybe a financial advisor, but probably an accountant, get my CPA.
Nice. And at Baylor, did you get accepted into their finance?
Yes, I did.
Oh, perfect. And then A&M, let's say, for instance, they send you a letter today and they accept you into the finance department. Which one are you going to choose?
That will be a very hard decision for me. I am not sure. Their business program takes about 1,000 kids a year. So it could already be capped because of the early admissions kid. Well, I wasn't early admission kids, but automatic admission kids could have already completely taken that away from me. But if I were to find out today, I have no idea. That would be a really big decision for me.
And what do you think would be the deciding factor?
Probably where I felt most at home and where I just felt like I could stay there for a long time. I go on those visits and you're there for a little bit, and wherever I'm like not relieved to go home, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I enjoyed this visit, I loved it, but I'm ready to go home.
Which one is closer?
Probably Baylor, and it's probably the easier drive. I mean, you go down 35, which is not a great, I think it's 35, hopefully I'm not wrong, but it's not a great highway, but it's a little bit shorter and it's just easy. You just jolt down the highway and you're there. But for College Station, it's more of like a scenic small town
I
around.
see.
Yeah.
Which school is better in football?
Well, I feel bad answering that, but I think Baylor had a pretty good season, but they're in different, not brackets, but like different pools of play, I guess. And good thing they don't play each other. I think they don't, right? I don't know a lot about football. I like to act like I do, but
Oh, so you're not a football girl.
I'm a little bit. But I know that Baylor had a very devastating loss yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Very, very sad. Very sad about that one. But I thought they had it. But I'll probably leave that question in open air.
Yeah. Make your decision, then I'll ask you again.
Yes. Sounds good.
Well, hey, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience?
My piece of advice to anybody who's in middle school or high school, my advice is when things are bad and you have a situation at school, whether it's drama, just remember that things are so much bigger in the moment. And you'll look back on things and realize how small they are. So don't dwell on things and kind of make yourself sad or isolate yourself, because you miss a lot of good time. You're only young for so long. There's some things that I wish I didn't dwell over for so long. So that's my best advice.
When it comes to teenagers, coaching is so effective because we use proven techniques that help teens identify goals and develop actionable plans to achieve them. If you're a parent and you want to learn how to use these coaching techniques to coach your own teen, visit us at coachyourteen.com. So Riley shared her experiences with dating. So parents, I have a question for you. What age do you feel is the best for your teen to start dating? I would love to hear your thoughts. So make sure you join our Facebook group, and you can find us by searching A Teen's Perspective. There is so much to discuss as it relates to Riley's interview, but what I want to share with parents is what they should do after their child has experienced a difficult situation. So let's say your teen was either bullied, maybe they failed a test, maybe they did not make their cheer team, or maybe they went through a scary surgery. Whatever the difficult situation is, I want to share something that parents should pay attention to. So there's this thing that I like to call a gremlin. Every single person in this world has a gremlin. So this gremlin is this inner voice that speaks to us and basically challenges everything we believe. This inner voice tells us that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy enough, we're not special, and we all have it. So what I want to share with parents is the one thing they should do after their teen has made it through the difficult situation. So this is like after your teen has been bullied and they're happy again, or they didn't make the cheer team, but then they fell in love with soccer. They had a surgery, they're healed from the surgery, they're back to normal and everything's okay. The tendency is for parents to look at their teen and notice that they're back to normal. They're no longer going through a difficult situation, so everything is okay. But what parents want to pay attention to is this gremlin. The gremlin will show up after the difficult situation, right? The gremlin is the loudest after the situation. After the storm is gone, that's when the gremlin gets really loud. And the way you can tell if your teen is listening to this gremlin is you notice subtle changes in their behavior. So I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, your teen is always like joking around, laughing, just being really silly, right? But after they've made it through a difficult situation, you notice that although everything is okay now, their personality is changing a little bit. They're not joking around as much. They're not laughing as much. That's a sign that they're listening to their gremlin. Let's say, for instance, your teen is extremely, extremely passionate about art. And all of a sudden you notice that although they're still doing the art, they're just not as excited. That can be a sign that they're listening to their gremlin. Or maybe your teen is all of a sudden starting to hang out alone more, or they're not wanting to be around their friends as much. All these are signs that they're listening to their gremlin. So the job of the parent in that case is to talk to your teen. So if you're a parent and you're noticing these changes, it's very, very important that you start having conversations with your teen. Start talking to them. Now, at the beginning, they're going to tell you that everything is okay. Everything is fine. I'm just tired. They're going to come up with something, right? But don't give up. Just find more creative ways to have those conversations, because the conversation is the antidote. Because the problem is whenever they're listening to their gremlin, it's all in their mind. And there's really no antidote to it. There's no way of fixing it. They're just hearing these thoughts about that they're not good enough. So by you getting them to talk about it, then they're actually releasing those thoughts. And it's going to help them deal with this gremlin. And remember, parents, the job is not to fix it. The job is not to come up with an answer. The job is strictly to ask questions and listen. Well, I hope this interview will help in some way with the relationship between you and your teen. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for all your support. Please review, rate, and subscribe, and share with a friend. Once again, I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective. Let's go!